Playing the dynamics of buildings and objects isn't just smart. It's a real edge on the competition. Just when someone thinks they've got you cornered, bending the rules of movement and trying new angles can get you out of improbable circumstances. That said, it's not about abandoning peek plays entirely. Sometimes, a less predictable approach is exactly what the situation demands. Consider this scenario. Two opponents are closing in, one on my left and one on my right. I angle myself at the edge of the building next to a protruding wall and hold a neutral position that allows me to anticipate an attack in either direction. Once I confirm my first target is coming from the left, I sprint jump past the wall, over the enemy, and unload a slug. Now because I'm down to my last bit of health, I sprint jump in a counter direction as I swap to my AR and just barely grab the knock. Switching gears to a different situation, I actually try to play the peek here, but immediately recognize I'm getting my pushed in. I make a fast move behind the door frame, knowing this will force the enemy to commit to a push. As soon as he makes his way around the door, I sprint jump over and get the comeback finish. Because of its unpredictability, this move is one of the best in Zero build when your back's against the wall. Here's another scenario, this time in Snobby Shores, where I'm down to 46 HP with only an AR at my disposal. Because of my loadout, something as predictable as playing a peek is not gonna cut it. So again, I drift behind the door frame, then strike as my opponent peeks past the door. It's important to keep note that sliding after the sprint jump is a must. This will help create additional space, as long as you remember to cancel your slide once you're in position. It makes hitting your shots much easier. Alright, let's go over one more door frame juke. This time, I'm in Pleasant Park. I grab one knock, but with 47 HP left, I'm in shambles. I fall back to the nearest room and position myself on an object. Let's transition to some techniques I use to counter right-hand peek. As soon as I knock the enemy player, I catch his duo on my visual audio. Yeah, he's likely holding right-hand peek just behind that bookcase. If I make a run for it, I'm toast. But just by sprinting into a slide cancel and jumping through the hallway, I make it harder for him to track me and throw his peek off balance. Now if you catch players trying to set up right-hand peek, don't let them get comfortable. The best time to bother someone trying to establish right-hand peek is to ambush them before they get set. In order to avoid getting ambushed yourself, try to avoid being predictable. Use certain opportunities to slide out from cover.
Wow.
Now in my most recent movement video, I discussed several moves designed to dominate in bunks. But are these moves really designated for bunks only? Let's highlight the exact same moves in different circumstances to find out. As soon as I hit a blind spot off the entry to this building, I sprint jump back towards the entryway just as the intended target pushes in. Add a slide kick for insult, and my guy is lost in the sauce. What if we swap out entryways for trees? Anytime a player is holding right-hand peek behind a tree, look for a moment to full send a slide to the left or right side of the tree. If they stay and hold peek, the slide offers an opportunity to blow by their cover. Typically, players will rotate around the tree. That's when you full send a sprint jump back in the other direction. Now what if we remove everything? No bunks, no cover, and no trees. When I find myself in close combat, if I slide past their field of view, this creates a temporary blind spot where I quickly jump over them as they readjust their camera, thus giving me an easy break opportunity. Ultimately, there's a science to advanced movement in Fortnite. Many of the same techniques can be applied to multiple purposes. Understanding the finer details of your environment, as well as how to exploit player tendencies within it, will turn your battles into a chess match, where IQ and awareness alleviate the pressures of aim speed and performance.